Hey everybody, it's Michelle with Florida Keys Birding, and today we're going to be talking about the Scissor-Tailed Flycatcher. So the Scissor-Tailed Flycatcher is actually scientifically called the Tyrannus forficatus, if that's how you pronounce it. I'm not 100% sure. But it is a distinctive bird native to North America, known for its striking appearance and graceful aerial displays. If you've ever seen this bird in action, you know what I'm talking about. So the flycatcher family, also known as Tyrannidae, which is a diverse group of small, medium-sized birds found throughout the Americas, they're known for their insect-catching behaviors, and their many species have different calls and songs. Sometimes they're called tyrant flycatchers, which is always kind of funny. I think it's funny to call them a tyrant, like it's a bird, but it's a tyrant. But the term tyrant is actually in context of the flycatcher, referring to its behaviors, how they're sometimes aggressive and territorial, especially during the breeding season. So this name was given to them because they're known for their assertiveness in defending their nesting territories. When European naturalists first encountered these birds in the Americas, they discovered their fierce and often pugnacious behavior towards other birds. Particularly when it came to defending the nesting sites, like I said, this behavior reminded them of aggressive actions of tyrants, which led them to be called tyrant flycatchers. But it's important to note that the term tyrant in this context is actually just a historical descriptor based on their observations. It doesn't actually imply that these birds are tyrannical in the human sense. That'd be pretty funny, right, if they were just up there being like little tyrannical birds and bothering people. But rather they actually can be quite assertive and protective when it comes to their territories and nests and resources. You know, they have a good bug spot and all that stuff. They want to make sure nobody's going to get their food source. So when it comes to identifying this bird, the most prominent feature of the scissor-tailed flycatcher is, of course, its long forked tail that looks like a scissor, which can be up to twice the length of its body. It's pretty distinctive. If you've ever seen one, you know what I'm talking about. If you see one sitting on a line, you're gonna know that that's not a mockingbird, that it's a scissor-tailed flycatcher. So, you know, you're gonna see the super long tail, you're gonna wanna pull over, snap a picture, because it probably is the scissor-tailed flycatcher. There's only like one other bird that it could be similar to, would be like the fork-tailed flycatcher, kind of, with a super long tail, and there's a couple of others that have super long tails, but for the most part, it's going to be the scissor-tailed flycatcher. This one is like a pale gray in color, with a salmon pink type color on the flanks and the belly and the underside of the tail, with a little bit of black tips on the tail. So as far as range goes, the scissor-tailed flycatchers are primarily found in central and southern parts of the United States, with their range extending from Texas and Oklahoma to parts of northern Mexico. So you might be wondering where I got all these shots of the scissor-tailed flycatcher if they're not native to Florida, right? So it's true that they actually are an uncommon sight in Florida, but there is an area near Southern Glades Wildlife Management and the Everglades that they come every single year without fail, on the dot, late October, early November. You can pretty much guarantee if you go to Southern Glades and you look on the telephone wires or the electric wires, you're going to find a scissor-tailed flycatcher around this time of year. So I usually go every year and I try to get some photos of them. So if you do happen to come across a scissor-tailed flycatcher in Florida, it's likely to just be a transient individual that's passing through on its way either to or from its wintering or breeding grounds. It's said that bird watchers and enthusiasts in Florida might occasionally have the opportunity to observe this distinctive bird during migration, but if you know where to find them, a sighting is almost guaranteed. This year I got lucky and I actually got one in the Keys during migration, which was a big surprise for me. I've actually never seen one here, so that was pretty cool. So as far as habitat, like I said, you're going to be looking for them in open habitats like grasslands, savannas, Everglades, sawgrass, prairie, farmlands, scrublands. You're going to see them perched on wires and fences, other elevated structures, just like any other flycatcher, you know, big snags and stuff like that, super tall, you know, treetops and stuff like that. But most of the time I see them on wires. And in the past, I have seen them perched together on wires with other birds like tropical kingbirds, eastern phoebes, loggerhead shrikes, and the eastern wood pewees down in the Everglades. So a little bit more about migration. While they are known to be migratory birds, and they generally do migrate to Central and South America, their wintering grounds will range from countries like Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Venezuela, and northern parts of Brazil. During the winter months, they'll leave their breeding grounds in the United States and Mexico and migrate to these warmer regions where they find suitable habitats and plenty of supply of insects for feeding. They typically return to their breeding grounds in North America in the spring for breeding season. So scissor-tailed flycatchers tend to wander widely on their way to and from their wintering grounds, and a habitat they share with fork-tailed flycatchers and tropical kingbirds as well. So like I said, I do have some pictures here of the scissor-tailed flycatcher perched with other tropical kingbirds as well. During the spring and fall, they may show up almost anywhere in North America, as far north as British Columbia and Nova Scotia, and of course some individuals may pass through or be spotted as far south as the Everglades, the Florida Keys, or the Dry Tortugas during their migratory journeys. So these areas would not be considered a regular state or breeding ground area for these birds. So you see them in Florida, they're really not supposed to be here, but here they are. So as far as diet goes, they consist primarily of flying insects like flies, bees, dragonflies, wasps, and grasshoppers. I actually have seen them catching wasps. There's some photos here of them eating wasps, and I see them catching dragonflies because there's like 1 million dragonflies in the Everglades. So there's a lot of them there for them to catch, and of course they catch a bunch of other stuff too. So they're aerial hunters, and they catch prey mid-air doing acrobatic flights. It actually looks pretty cool. There's some video of them doing that. They usually forage between the ground and 30 feet off the ground, snatching insects from the air and gleaning them from vegetation. On rare occasions, though, they will forage for insects or berries by hopping from branch to branch in like a live oak, red mulberry, hackberry, or hovering near trees. I've seen them in the Royal Poincianas doing that over by Southern Glades. We don't really have mulberries and whatever a hackberry is. We don't really have that here. So yeah, so I see them more in the Royal Poincianas if you're down here looking for them. So the behavior of the scissor-tailed flycatcher is that it will fly in straight lines with fast wing beats and a folded tail. It also hovers with its tail spread or makes abrupt turns in mid-air. I've seen it with the tail doing that, and it almost looks like a ribbon like flitting in the wind. It looks really cool actually. So scissor-tailed flycatchers form large roosts during spring and fall during migration, and they will flock in the winter as well. And some breeding populations with males, they'll continue to roost in groups throughout the breeding season, but breeding birds tend to forage alone or in pairs. When I see them, they're always kind of together, like 5 or 6 of them perched on a line. But when they're down here in the Keys, they're not here during breeding season, so it would be different. So after pairing up, males and females chase and attack other individuals that intrude their territory. Guess that's why they call them tyrants. Trespassing happens frequently, especially in the early morning, so keep an eye out if you see these birds, as you may be treated to an amazing aerial chase. Pairs are monogamous within a breeding season, but don't always reunite in later years. So scissor-tailed flycatchers will attack intruding red-tailed hawks, Swainson hawks, turkey vultures, mourning doves, gray-tailed grackles, common grackles, northern mockingbirds, oh I bet that's a fight, western kingbirds, loggerhead shrikes, house sparrows, American crows, blue jays, and lark sparrows. Out of this list, I would say that the biggest fight is going to be with the mockingbirds, the hawks, the blue jays, and the crows. I don't know about the other ones, but I know that, well, you know what? The mourning doves, they don't play games either. So they would probably give up a pretty good fight. I've seen them at feeders. I've seen them at feeders, and they're pretty aggressive. They look sweet and innocent, but they're not. I can tell you that. So as far as breeding behavior goes, during courtship displays, males perform impressive aerial maneuvers showcasing their long tail feathers. This behavior is believed to be an important part of mate attraction. Wow, so she likes those long tail feathers. So as far as nesting goes, the male and the female travel together throughout their territory in search of a nest site in open prairies, mesquite prairie, parks, gardens, pastures, croplands, roadside or salt marsh edges. When they find a potential nesting site in an isolated tree or shrub, they both hop around and test out different spots by pressing against the branches. They choose an open site that's sheltered from the prevailing wind and often shaded by some foliage. They build cup-shaped nests in trees, shrubs, and even on utility poles. The nests are often made of grass, twigs, and other plant material, and they are lined with softer materials. The scissor-tailed flycatcher uses many human products when making its nest, such as string, cloth, paper, carpet fuzz, and cigarette filters. That's pretty disgusting. I don't really think that's a good idea, but they're doing it, so. One study of nests in urban areas in Texas found that artificial materials accounted for 30% of the weight of nests. I mean, so they're resourceful, you know, they're taking trash and stuff like that and they're using it in the nest. So there you go. So the eggs will typically be 3 to 6 eggs per brood, and they're pale, speckled eggs. Incubation is about 15 days, and both parents share the incubation. Both the male and the female will participate in raising the young, and they do take turns incubating the eggs and feeding the chicks. So as far as their call goes, it's described as like a high-pitched, twittery note. They are generally not as vocal as some other flycatcher species. Yeah, I've never actually heard them, I would have to say. As many times as I have seen them, I've seen them fly and do their thing, but no, I've never actually heard them. And that is a good point because most flycatcher species are, you know, pretty vocal. I mean, they are. So that's pretty interesting that that they say that they aren't very vocal compared to others. And yeah, this is what I've noticed as well. Let's go ahead and take a listen and see what they sound like. Okay, I lied. Maybe I have heard that. Okay, so yeah, I don't know. I didn't think that I had ever heard them, but then when I just heard the call, I was like, okay, yeah, I think I have heard that. Okay, so so that's what the call sounds like if you ever hear them. But yeah, I don't think they're super vocal, just compared to other flycatchers. Other flycatchers, you usually hear them before you see them. So an interesting fact about this bird is it's actually the state bird of Oklahoma, and it was designated in 1951 due to its prevalence in the state. I heard that they do have lots of these in Oklahoma and like Texas and Louisiana and stuff like that. And in the wild, these birds can typically live about 2 to 3 years. However, they can survive longer in captivity. That's not very old for a bird, you know? So it's like makes me think the ones that I saw 4 or 5 years ago, they're not the same bird. Maybe they're they're the children of those birds or something. So the conservation status, the Scissor-Tailed Flycatcher numbers actually have declined by about 31% between 1966 and 2014, according to the North American Breeding Birds Survey. Partners in Flight estimates a global breeding population of 9.5 million, with 92% breeding in the US and 50% spending some or part of the year in Mexico. The species rates an 11 out of 20 on the Continental Concern score. So there's a little concern for this bird. So the Scissor-Tailed Flycatcher is not on the 2014 State of Birds Watch list, but to safeguard nest and perch sites, researchers suggest that leaving strips or patches of brush intact when clearing brush and applying herbicides. The species may be expanding its range in response to forest clearing on both breeding and wintering grounds. Severe thunderstorms and tornadoes can destroy many nests when they interrupt the otherwise hot, sunny weather of the breeding season. So I hope you learned a little bit more about the Scissor-Tailed Flycatcher today and you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've ever seen a Scissor-Tailed Flycatcher in the comments below, and you guys have a good night. Bye!